Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. I'm excited to announce that I have finished and released the plans for the first of the chair kit styles. If you want to make your own, you can do that. I've had requests for plans for the chair kits since I launched these things 3 years ago. People have asked, like, I like the chairs and I like all that, but I really want to be able to make all the parts myself. So if that's you, we've got plans for style 3. So in this video, I want to just cover a few things. I want to just let you know, introduce you to the chair kits. If you haven't seen them before, I want to show you the plans and just kind of show you what to expect with those. And then I have a few little things on the chairs that I want to show you in case you're designing your own thing and you want some ideas or just some concepts, I guess, of things to consider as you're building. So let's get into it. What the heck's a chair kit? So this right here is a chair kit. It's a ready to assemble, or some of them are almost ready to assemble chairs. So you have all of your parts with all the joinery cut basically to the point of assembly where you can do any little bit of tweaking you want to do to like the design. If you want to put some inlay or you want to do some curves or whatever, you can modify this and kind of take it to your final place. I launched these 3 years ago. I got several different styles, and that was just sort of this observation that I had over the years of being in this woodworking space, and that a lot of people make tables and kind of stop there. They don't really get into actually making the chairs to go with their tables, whether that might be because they don't feel they have the skill to do that, or if they do have the skill, they understand how much work it is to actually make all these parts. And that is true from like a hobbyist perspective and from like a professional perspective as well, where someone that might be selling a commissioned table might be sending their customers elsewhere for chairs because they can't get to the point where they can make a chair economically to actually go with that table. So these kits allow someone to get into chair making fairly easily, especially if chairs seem daunting. I know for me, like before I really understand how something is supposed to work, I have to see it in person. So having like a fully assembled chair with all the joinery and all the angles there so you can look at them and just kind of get a really good feel for it, that's like super beneficial. So that's your chair frame. Toss your seat on there and you got a chair ready for some butts. So that is style 3. I have several other styles available as well. This one has some kind of complex joinery going on because the seat is sloped back on the frame and then the actual frame itself splays out at the front. So you got some fun compound joinery angles, compound angle joinery going on in the rail assembly, which is kind of fun and different. So style 3 is what the plans are to make. So let me show you what to expect in the plans should you want to attempt to make all these parts yourself. If you're familiar with my other furniture plans or the plans that go along with my classes, these are going to follow kind of the same format. You're going to have your cut lists in your material list so you have an idea of how much material you're going to need for a chair. And then the plans kind of lay out like this. This is the rear leg. It gives you all the little details and things you're going to need for where the joinery goes, how the curves are laid out, and all of that stuff. And then for the curved parts, we have these laid out as coming out of solid blocks, but that's the first kind of topic that I thought we'd cover. And this first topic actually is inspired by a question I got recently from a viewer about making curved parts. What's the best way to go about making these things? So to answer that question, just kind of depends on the way you want to work. If you want to saw them out of a solid block of wood, that's going to make the joinery process a lot easier because you can cut all your joinery before you cut any of the curves out. It's going to be a lot easier to lay them out. You're not really going to need any kind of weird special jigs to hold curved parts or anything. So that process is going to be a lot easier. The downside to that is you're going to spend a little more time actually making each part. So for instance, once you actually cut that piece out, then you have to go ahead and refine that and get them all to a consistent and uniform thickness so they look and feel correct. So you spend time in the refining process after actually cutting the curves out. On the other side of things, if you want to do a bending, that's going to be faster in the production standpoint, but you're going to shift your time to the beginning because you're going to be spending more time prepping So you have to make all of the bending forms for these, all of them. You will have to then prep your stock. That's especially going to be a bigger undertaking if you're going to do a bent lamination, because every single laminate needs to be resawn, sanded or prepped to consistent thickness, and then it can actually go into the form and glued up into the bending. On the other hand, there's steam bending. That's what all of these bent parts are. These are all steam bent. That's going to be a bit faster than bent lamination because you don't have to prep all the laminates. You just mill your stock to its actual dimensional size, and there's your blank to go into the bending form. In both cases, with the steam bending and the bent lamination, you may have to experiment a bit with your forms to make sure your form accounts for whatever spring back your material might have. That's going to probably vary depending on species and even the tree that the piece of wood came out of. So even though you might have a form, your bendings might be a little different. So a high-level suggestion, if you're only going to make maybe one chair, maybe two chairs, sawing from solid is a decent way to go. But if you're going to make like 8 of these things, you're going to have a lot of time spent cleaning up and refining curves if you are going to try and solid saw all of those parts. It's going to be a heck of a lot of cleanup work to get everything a nice uniform thickness after you saw those curves and you get rid of all the saw marks and anything like that. Now jumping back to the plans for a second, there are 4 different versions of the plans that you'll get when you buy them. There's going to be the version of the plans that have the integral joinery, so essentially making parts look just like this with tenons that are actually part of the material. You have tenons in the ends of curved pieces, which is something fun. The other version is going to be with a floating tenon, so you have all mortises. There are no tenons that are made on any of the parts. That's going to be a lot easier for a lot of people. You can do a lot of that work with just a router and maybe some jigs, or if you have like a panta router or a multi-router, that's going to be a lot easier just to cut mortises in all the ends of all these pieces. Or if you have a domino, you could domino all the pieces as well, so you're not trying to jig up and cut integral tenons on things. There's also metric versions of both of those, so the plans are actually 4 sets of plans, metric and imperial versions of both integral and floating tenons. So there's that. Now lastly, with the plans, you also get the templates to make all these parts, because that's probably going to be pretty helpful. So here is the printouts of the templates you get, so you can make your own templates for all the parts, all the curves, all the weird stuff. So you got there's a few examples here. There's your back leg, so you could pattern route that to your template afterwards. You have your back slat template and your rail templates, and these you could use these curves to make your forms if you're going to do bending instead of sawing from solid. But that gives you all your curves for all your parts. Your seat is right there. It looks a lot bigger on here, but that's how big the seat is. Boom, seat. Just as big as it looks. The other design tip I want to share with you is the connection of the back slats into the crest rail, and that should be a floating connection. So you want to have these things in here so they can float up and down, in and out, and kind of have some wiggle room to move around. Because this right here is your lumbar support, and someone sitting in this chair, their back is going to press into that back slat, and as the curve is pressed out of that slat, it's going to get longer. So it needs some room to go up into the crest rail. So the mortises are cut deeper than they need to be, and then they're not glued. The downside to that floating connection is there's going to be a little bit of rattle. So to solve that problem, these get siliconed into these mortises, and the silicone provides enough flex there for things to still flex around and move, but it prevents this thing from rattling around in here and making a racket. So those are the plans for this style of chair, and we'll see how these go, if people like these or what have you. I got more chairs that could become plans if you want to make any of the other ones someday in the future, but Style 3 has been the most popular chair that I have sold, so I figured people like the design enough. Maybe this is a good place to start on the plans for making your own. It's definitely a challenge, but I think it's a fun challenge to get out there and figure out how to make all these weird, goofy parts. And then once you actually have your kind of process set up, it's just a matter of running all the parts through and making your full set of chairs. The plans and the chair kits are available on my website, mattcremona.com. I'll leave you links for all this stuff as well, so you can get there a little faster than typing stuff in. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you as always for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on chair kits or chairs or whatever in the shop or wherever you want to ask questions about or whatever, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.